course, we're going to begin this morning with more reaction from yesterday's testimony from special counsel Robert Mueller. In more than 6 hours of questioning, Mueller stuck to the information that's in his report on Russian meddling in the 2016 election and possible obstruction of justice. The president declared victory yesterday, but late last night we learned that the House Judiciary Committee will subpoena former White House counsel Don McGahn. Laura Podesta is following these historic hearings from New York. Laura, what are Democrats planning now?
Good morning, Emery. Well, as you said, the House Judiciary Committee plans to go to court today to enforce that subpoena of former White House counsel Don McGahn. McGahn was a central figure in Robert Mueller's investigation. The report said President Trump asked McGahn to fire Mueller not once, but twice, which is a huge part of the Democrats' argument that the president obstructed justice. Democrats also say they're still not ready to take impeachment off the table. Former special counsel Robert Mueller was on Capitol Hill yesterday, summoned there to answer questions about his nearly 2-year-long investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election.
The testimony you're about to give is true and correct.
The 74-year-old spent more than 6 hours testifying before the House's Judiciary and Intelligence Committees. Mueller mostly referred lawmakers to his written report or offered one-word responses.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
You could charge the president of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office.
Yes.
The back-to-back hearings produced no real revelations or new insights into Mueller's probe.
We had a very good day today. The Republican Party, our country, there was no defense of what Robert Mueller was trying to defend, in all fairness to Robert Mueller.
Democrats say they're determined to uncover wrongdoing by the president.
There's a cone of silence in the White House that is engaged in a massive cover-up in the obstruction of justice.
Now the House Judiciary Committee plans to ask a court to enforce a subpoena for testimony it issued to former White House counsel Don McGahn. One of Mueller's most memorable quotes from his testimony was his warning to lawmakers that his team uncovered substantial evidence of Russian interference in U.S. elections. He said they are doing it as we sit here. Anne-Marie?
Yes, indeed. Laura, thank you very much. So for more on yesterday's hearings, I want to bring in CBSN political contributor Molly Cooper, as well as Michael Graham, a CBSN political contributor and conservative columnist. And you hammered out a column already about this whole thing.
I did.
So I will start with you because sort of very early on in Mueller's testimony, you came over and gave me sort of your assessment. But then there were many, many hours to go. There was a second hearing in which many people say he performed better than he did initially.
Absolutely.
So now I'm curious, what was your assessment?
So the assessment was that the Democrats wanted to, who were supporting this, like Gerald Nadler, wanted to push the ball forward for impeachment. I think that safe to say, reading headlines in places like Politico that were negative, that they moved the ball backwards. In fact, the consensus among a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, including some Republican consultants I talked to last night, was this was a big win for Nancy Pelosi, because Pelosi needs to hold on to the moderates who helped her win her majority 2 years ago. Impeachment does not poll there well at all. The Republicans released some polling a few days ago that shows that in swing districts it's down to like 20%. People just, they don't, that's not who wants this. The people who want impeachment are Democrats anyway. They've already got them. And so Mueller's poor performance and the inability to advance any new information to raise the heat, and in fact, as Lawrence Tribe, the liberal professor, said yesterday, he sucked all the energy out of impeachment. That's very good news for, say, moderates like Senator Jeanne Shaheen in New Hampshire, who's up for re-election in a swing state. She does not want to be answering questions about impeachment leading up to the 2020 election.
So, Molly, a lot of the talk leading up to this was, look, even if he just reads directly from the report, that'll be good enough.
Well, and that's what they wanted him to do. Yeah. And Mueller was like, no. You read. I'll just tell me which page to confirm.
Right.
Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't.
Right.
But really, going with Michael's assessment of it, I talked to some Democrats after the hearing, and Nancy Pelosi convened a Democratic caucus meeting after both of those hearings to kind of get sort of an assessment of where they were, where the caucus stood. And Jerry Nadler, pretty much from what I understand, said, hey, we can go ahead with impeachment hearings, and this is how. And a lot of other Democrats were like, wait, pump the brakes, hold on. It was a very energized, closed-door meeting, I'm told,
right.
After which Nancy Pelosi came out and gave that press conference. Keep in mind, that press conference was originally scheduled for something like 4:15, and it didn't end up happening until 5:45 p.m. So that was because she was still in this meeting with Democrats trying to figure out where we go from here. And picking up on Michael's point, she knows one thing about Nancy Pelosi is she's a political pragmatist. She may represent San Francisco. I'm from California, full disclosure, but that, you know, it's a very blue district, right? And she, you know, so her politics may be one way, but she's pragmatic in that she wants to hold on to the House, and she knows that it's those moderate districts, that those Republican districts that Democrats won in 2018 that she needs to hold on to, and there's just not the support in those districts for impeachment, you know, as opposed to somebody like Jerry Nadler, who represents New York City, blue district, right? And what Nancy Pelosi is going to have to figure out and sort of manage, as she's been doing thus far this year, those liberal, aggressive, vocal, passionate members of her caucus who want impeachment and are going to call for it and get in her face about it, as opposed to the members she needs to maintain in her roles, essentially, to get reelected. And so that's going to continue, I think.
I want to play a little bit of sound. You mentioned that, you know, he didn't even read from the report. In fact, a lot of his answers were one-word answers. I want to play just a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit more after that.
It's accurate based on what is written in the report. That's in the report, yes. I refer you to the report for that. I refer you to the report. I direct you again to the report. I refer you to the report. I can't beyond what's in the report. I rely on the wording of the report.
Okay, so back to back to back. It doesn't sound so great. But
I just want to say that if you're out there and new in the workplace, I refer to the report. It doesn't work with your boss. My boss does not like that when I try to use that. When you're like,
you read the report.
That's right. My editors, I refer to the congressional record. You can just find it in the congressional record.
Do you think maybe there's too much discussion now about his performance? I mean, this isn't a reality show. It is in the report. It's 400 pages. So, maybe people should read it.
So the reason why that criticism I don't think works is because it's not the special counsel's report. It's not the Department of Justice report. If you go on Twitter, if you pick up the paper, it's the Mueller report. And this is why Democrats had a setback yesterday. The person whose name, whose credibility they referred to. You know, I think Republicans have some legitimate questions about why would you have yet another Comey moment where you say unindicted, but man, look how guilty you look. That's not something that happens in courtrooms. It's not what we think of as the rule of law. And Democrats say, well, come on, it's Bob Mueller. Don't criticize. He's beyond reproach. The Bob Mueller of yesterday was very reproachable, and that's good news for people, critics of the report.
In fact, go ahead, Molly. Because I was going to bring up what you're just sort of alluding to, because we have a little bit of sound. Robert Mueller was asked to name another example where the Justice Department said a person was not exonerated because their innocence could not be proven. Let's play his answer.
Which DOJ policy or principle set forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined? Where does that language come from, Director? Where is the DOJ policy that says that? Let me make it easier.
Go ahead.
Can you give me an example other than Donald Trump where the Justice Department determined that an investigated person was not exonerated because their innocence was not conclusively determined?
I cannot, but this is a unique situation.
Well, you can't. Time is short. I've got 5 minutes. Let's just leave it at you can't find it, because I'll tell you why. It doesn't exist. The special counsel's job, nowhere does it say that you were to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence or that the special counsel report should determine whether or not to exonerate him.
Molly, I thought that stung because he went out of his way to say if we could have exonerated him, we would. You know, that was like the one line that everybody said, oh, look at that.
That's right.
And then he couldn't defend it.
That's right. And actually, on that point, if you notice who was doing the questioning, that was John Ratcliffe. And the person who did have a good day yesterday, John Ratcliffe. And we might not see it, it might not be flashy, but behind the scenes, he was coordinating a lot of the Republicans' questions. And, where the Republicans could have gone sort of, you could say, off the rails and really focusing on this Clinton dossier and all these things, they actually, for the most part, stayed pretty focused on exoneration and those type of issues, and a lot of that had to do with John Ratcliffe. Keep in mind, John Ratcliffe has a long history as a prosecutor, worked in the DOJ, had worked with Mueller before in his previous life, and actually was mentioned for various high positions in the DOJ. And from what I understand, the White House was very pleased with how he managed the Republicans and was able to move the ball forward.
And let's do something that I never do. How astonishing was it that about 75% of the members of Congress acted like adults? I mean, it was just, I was like, very few, nothing, I know Congressman Gohmert a little bit, very few Gohmert moments. A lot of, here's my point, I want to make my case. And some people complain, on the Republican side, they're just going through the report again, point by point, they're just listening again. So, yeah, but they're doing it effectively, they're making sure it gets out there. And so it is possible for members of Congress to behave, play nicely, and do what they want to do as far as making their points politically.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, there's so much more to talk about, but alas, right now I have to move on because there are other news stories. Molly, Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you.